This is our generation. This is our time. And I am confident that we can meet any challenge as long as we are together. Such an effort is never easy. It's always harder to forge true partnerships and sturdy alliances than to act alone. Or to wait for the action of somebody else. It's more difficult to break down walls of division than to simply allow our differences to build an R. Resentments to fester. So we must be honest with ourselves. In recent years we've allowed our alliance to drift. I know that there have been honest disagreements over policy. But we also know that there's something more that has crept into our relationship. In America, there's a failure to appreciate Europe's leading role in the world. Instead of celebrating your dynamic union and seeking to partner with you to meet common challenges. There have been times where America has shown arrogance and been dismissive, even derisive. But in Europe, there is an anti-Americanism that is at once casual but can also be insidious. Instead of recognizing the good that America so often does in the world. There have been times where Europeans choose to blame America for much of what's bad. On both sides of the Atlantic, these attitudes have become all too common. They are not wise. They do not represent the truth. They threaten to. Widen the divide across the Atlantic and leave us both more isolated. They fail to acknowledge the fundamental truth that America cannot confront the challenges of this century alone. But that Europe cannot confront them without America. So I've come to Europe this week to renew our partnership, one in which America listens and learns from our friends and allies. But where our friends and allies bear their share of the burden. Together, we must forge common solutions to our common problems. So let me say this as clearly as I can, America is changing, but it cannot be America alone that changes. We are confronting the greatest economic crisis since World War II. The only way to confront this unprecedented crisis is through unprecedented coordination. Over the last few days, I believe that we have begun that effort. The G20 summit in London was a success of nations coming together, working out their differences. And moving boldly forward. All of us are moving aggressively to restore growth and lending. All of us have agreed to the most substantial overhaul of our international financial system in a generation. No one is exempt. No more will the world's financial players be. Able to make risky bets at the expense of ordinary people. Those days are over. We are ushering a new era of responsibility. And that is something we should all be proud of. As we take these steps, we also affirm that we must not erect new barriers to commerce. That trade wars have no victors. We can't give up on open markets, even as we work to ensure that trade is both free and fair. We cannot forget how many millions that trade has lifted out of poverty and into the middle class. We can't forget that part of the freedom that our nation stood for throughout the Cold War was the opportunity that comes from free enterprise and individual liberty. I know it can be tempting to turn inward. And I understand how many people and nations have been left behind by the global economy. And that's why the United States is leading an effort to reach out to people around the world who are suffering. To provide them immediate assistance and to extend support for food security that will help them lift themselves out of poverty. All of us must join together in this effort, not just because it is right. But because by providing assistance to those countries most in need, we will provide new markets. We will drive the growth of the future that lifts all of us up. So it's not just charity, it's a matter of understanding that our fates are tied. Together, not just the fate of Europe and America, but the fate of the entire world. And as we restore our common prosperity, we must stand up for our common security. As we meet here today, NATO has still embarked on its first mission overseas in Afghanistan. And my administration has just completed a review of our policy in that region. Now, I understand that this war has been long. Our allies have already contributed greatly to this endeavor. You've sent your sons and daughters to fight alongside ours. And we honor and respect their service and sacrifice. And I also know that there's some who have asked questions about why are we still in Afghanistan? What does this mean? What's its purpose? Understand, we would not deploy. Our own troops if this mission was not indispensable to our common security. As president, I can tell you there's no decision more difficult, there's no duty more painful. Than signing a letter to the family of somebody who has died in war. So I understand that there is doubt about this war in Europe. There's doubt at times even in the United States. But know this, the United States of America did not choose to fight a war in Afghanistan. We were attacked by an Al-Qaeda network that killed thousands on American soil, including French and Germans. Along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan, those terrorists are still plotting today. And if there is another Al-Qaeda attack, it is just as likely. If not more, that it will be here in Europe in a European city. So I've made a commitment to Afghanistan. And I've asked our NATO partners for more civilian and military support and assistance. We do this with a clear purpose, to root out the terrorists who threaten all of us. To train the Afghan people to sustain their own security and to help them advance their own opportunity. And to quicken the day when our troops come home. We have no interest in occupying Afghanistan. We have more than enough to do in rebuilding America. But this is a mission that tests whether nations can come. Together in common purpose on behalf of our common security. That's what we did together in the 20th century. And now we need an alliance that is even stronger than when it brought down a mighty wall in Berlin. That's why we applaud France's decision to expand and deepen its participation in NATO. just as we support a strong European defense. That's why we welcome Croatia and Albania into the fold. And that is why we must ensure that NATO is equipped and capable of facing down the threats and challenges of this new age. This is one of our central tasks. And we also know that in the 21st century, security is more complex than military power. This is the generation that must also stop the spread of the pollution that is slowly killing our planet. From shrinking coastlines and devastating storms to widespread misery and famine and drought. The effects of climate change are now in plain sight. Europe has acted with a seriousness of purpose that this challenge demands. And in the last few months I'm proud to say that America has begun to take unprecedented steps to transform the way that we use energy. We appointed a special envoy to help us lead a global effort to reduce the carbon that we send in the atmosphere. But we all know that time is running out. And that means that America must do more. Europe must do more. China and India must do more. Rolling back the tide of a warming planet is a responsibility that we have to ourselves. To our children, and all of those who will inherit God's creation long after we are gone. So let us meet that responsibility together. I am confident that we can meet it. But we have to begin today. And let us resolve that when future generations look back on ours, they will be able to say that we did our part to make this world more peaceful. It's perhaps the most difficult work of all to resolve age-old conflicts, to heal ancient hatreds. To dissolve the lines of suspicion between religions and cultures. And people who may not look like us, or have the same faith that we do, or come from the same place. But just because it's difficult does not make the work any less important. It does not absolve us from trying. And to that end, America will sustain our effort to forge and secure a lasting peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I've sent a clear message to the leaders and peoples of Iran that while we have real differences, we also have mutual interests, and we seek new engagement based on mutual respect. And it is in that spirit that America and Europe must reach out. To the vast majority of Muslims in our nations and in all nations. We seek only hope of peace and partnership, and the opportunity of a better life. We cannot simply solve these conflicts militarily. We have to open our minds and we have to open our hearts too. The differences among us and the commonalities between us. With every threat that we face, a new day is possible. We can't get there alone. As it was in the darkest days after World War II. When a continent lay in ruins and an atomic cloud had settled over the world, we must make the journey together. We know that transformational change is possible. We know this because of three reasons. First, because, for all our differences, there are certain values that bind us together and reveal our common humanity, the universal longing to live a life free from fear. and free from want, a life marked by dignity and respect and simple justice.